In today's video, we're going to be talking about the mountain bike trails in the Banff National Park. And you'd be surprised to hear that there's actually not too many. There's the two we're going to be talking about today, which are Topp Notch and Return of the Jedi. Then really in the town area, there are some other trails such as Upper and Lower Stony, but really Star Wars and Topp Notch are by and far the most popular mountain bike trails around. And for those of you who are surprised by the lack of trails in Banff, you have to remember that a very short drive away is Canmore, which has the Nordic Center, and the Highline, which I've done a video on, which are great trails. But just because the Nordic Center has lots of trails and everyone knows it, doesn't mean you should completely cut off Banff, because the two trails we're talking about today are absolute gems. But without further ado, let's actually get into the trails, and the first trail we'll be talking about is Star Wars Return of the Jedi. And much like the movie, this trail is absolutely awful. But I mean, at least this trail didn't have little bears running everywhere, so I can at least be happy with that. But of course I'm just joking. Well, partially anyway, because Star Wars is actually a very good trail. But anyway, what this trail does have a lot of is features. As you can see right at the start here, there's a pretty cool skinny to a drop that is very well made, and that's something you're going to be seeing a lot in this trail, which is really well made stuff. The first half of Star Wars is completely downhill, and it is extremely fast, fun, and flowy. And like I said, it is absolutely jam-packed with man-made features, such as a berm that's pretty cool. As you can see, I'm not very good at them, so I did it slowly. Didn't want to hurt myself right off the bat. They also have a ton of little jumps, as well as stuff just to ride over that's very fun. And something nice about this trail too is that you can really ride all the features, go over top of them, and you don't really have to hit them. All the jumps pretty much have a down ramp, and all the skinnies have a way to go down that's not as aggressive, so it's really nice that everyone can really enjoy this trail. So pretty much if you're looking for a very fast trail with lots of berms, lots of features, and lots of smaller jumps that aren't too big, but are just big enough to give you that adrenaline rush, then this is the trail for you. But as always, whatever goes up must come down, and about that, the halfway point of Star Wars, you will get to the bottom of the hill and have to turn around and climb back up. And after I said that, I can tell a few people groaned at their screen, but don't get ahead of yourself. This is actually one of the most fun climbs I've done in a while. But now that I've made an outlandish claim like that, you're probably wondering what makes it so much fun. And well, it's a combination of things. And I'd say the number one reason this climb isn't so bad is that it is not just straight up the entire time. The trail will kind of curve back on itself and kind of zigzag up the hill, which is really nice, and there's even some parts where you'll go downhill to be able to give your legs a bit of a rest. So that's really nice, it adds to the trail. And the second reason I'd say is that they do have some built features that really help the trail.
When people add stuff like this in climb trails, it makes it so much more fun. Oh, you should try that, Dad.
I will always say that climb trails with a few features is so much better because it breaks up the monotony of just grinding up the hill and adds some spice into it. It's just so much better. But anyway, at the end of it, I mean, it's still a climb, so if you're not a big climber, you probably still won't like it, but it is very well made. But anyway, at the end of Star Wars, it'll bring you right back up to where you started, and that is also the start of Topp Notch. Unlike Return of the Jedi, the head of the trail is not going to go into a descent, but actually a climb, and quickly right before you can see there's a feature that's kind of mandatory, and I read on Trail Forks it's like a squirrel catcher, so if you can't do that feature, you probably shouldn't go on with the rest of the trail. But if you can, you are in for a treat. Because dare I say, this is my favorite trail in both Banff and Canmore. And this is due to a multitude of things, including that this trail is completely ridden with features everywhere. And the great thing too is that these features aren't only in the descent. I mean, it does have the berms and the jumps, but it also has a ton of features on the ascent. And you may immediately assume that all these features on the climb are pretty low effort, maybe just a couple of logs screwed together. But that is where you are wrong. The trail builders of Topp Notch I have to give a round of applause to because these features are absolutely insane. I can only imagine hauling up all this lumber just to build something that isn't totally necessary. Like even the thing I just wrote on there, you can tell it's not totally necessary. They could have just cut up the hill or maybe even went in the divot. There's no reason to have a log bridge there at all, but they added it and it adds so much to the trail. But let's just imagine that we live in a cruel world where the trail builders are extremely lazy and didn't want to build anything. Even with this condition, I am convinced that this would still be a fantastic trail, just because of the natural features all around. I mean, seriously, it seemed like every single corner we took, there was either going to be a massive rock we'd have to ride over or ride through, or maybe a really tough rocky climb, or at the very least, some feature that was going to take your breath away. I know, you could probably tell that I absolutely love this trail. but it is certainly a justified love. Because I mean, just look at some of this stuff. If you love log bridges, there's literally no better trail in the area that I can think of. But I mean, I also do have to say this trail isn't for everybody. It was pretty appropriately deemed a black diamond because there are definitely places you can get hurt on and some very difficult features. So if you're a beginner, I would definitely hold off on riding this trail for a little while. And also what I mentioned earlier is that this trail does start off with a bit of a climb. And this climb isn't exactly for the weak of heart. This is due in part because, as you can see here, you are going quite a ways up the mountain. And this climb isn't just some easy way to get up the hill. It has some pretty challenging features, such as some pretty tight switchbacks, some loose climbs, and pretty narrow parts due to trees, as you can see from this tree that's got the absolute crap kicked out of it. But hey, that's the life of a tree on a mountain bike trail. Another thing to note about Topp Notch is that something that I've always really liked about trails is you'll climb and get to the top of the hill, or at least as high as you will go on the trail, and you won't go just straight down. On Topp Notch, you'll kind of go on the side of the mountain, slowly making your way down, but it's pretty seamlessly done where you'll do some climbs and then a bit longer of a descent, so it never feels like you're going straight down or straight up. Another thing to know about Topp Notch is that many of the descents will consist of a ton of switchbacks. But unlike many other trails I've been on, such as Highline, it isn't just switchback after switchback every 10 feet or so. You're never able to pick up speed and you're just kind of going back and forth, and it's never very much fun. Topp Notch makes sure to give you a switchback, then let you ride around the side of the hill for quite a while, and then switch back again. So once again, the trail builders did a very good job on their trail by making the distance between each switchback not too long but not too short. So with Topp Notch having a very fun and well-constructed climb, some really good views, and most importantly, some amazingly built features. I mean, look at this one. It has concrete poured for it. How many trails can you name that have concrete poured for it? And also, there are so many features. With all this combined, it definitely makes Topp Notch a must-do if you're in the Banff area. But oh yeah, the one thing you will want to know before going into Topp Notch is you probably want to have a spare derailleur hanger with you.
Oh, this is tough, Dad.
So I'm not sure if everybody that rides this trail breaks their derailleur hanger or just me, but either way, I know I did, and we had to figure out something fast. And if you're wondering why we needed to make something work fast, it's not to be melodramatic, although it partly is. It's because the mosquitoes were absolutely awful. And believe me, I know what awful mosquitoes are like.
One like flew into my throat.
But either way, without much bug spray on, we embarked on our journey of making my bike a single speed, because that's our first gut reaction. Your derailleur hanger's broken, there's no other option but to make it a single speed. So we originally created a system where my dad would work on my bike and I sat there patting his back and making sure no mosquitoes got him, which shockingly turned out not to be too successful. So we went to plan B and he wore a jacket. But it was like 30 above that day. So we went to plan C, which is what everybody does if they're impatient, there's a lot of mosquitoes, and they want to get out of there. And that's, of course, taking the chain off and letting it rip. So now I know exactly what you're thinking. Oh, that'd be an awful ride. With no chain, you're not going to be able to go up anything. You're not going to be able to go anywhere. But it actually wasn't all that bad. I've done a bit of skateboarding, so it didn't actually feel too unnatural to me. I'd just coast for a while, hit a jump, maybe go over skinny, and then I'd put my foot down and pump a little bit, and then hop back on the bike. The only thing I'd say that did maybe kind of wreck the experience was after the ride when I'm looking to replace my derailleur hanger, I realized it wasn't actually my derailleur hanger that snapped. You see, my bike is actually designed to have a bolt that threads through my frame into my derailleur hanger, and this is what is intended to break. And now you're probably thinking, well, what's the point of that? Well, I can answer that for you. The entire point is because then you can have a separate bolt that threads into your frame. So if you ever snap your derailleur hanger bolt, you've got it right there on your frame. Honestly, an absolutely genius idea by Norco. Let's just hope I remember it next time. But with all that aside, I think I grew as a human being and as a rider because I was able to see things from a different point of view.
I'm getting a taste of what it's like to be you anyway. Walking up every hill.
But anyways, the end of Topp Notch will kick you out at the halfway point of Star Wars and also where you have to begin climbing. So I just ended up pushing up my bike, and then my dad and I switched halfway, so I just rode his bike up. But anyway, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is a really fun trail and I highly recommend you go. But anyways, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.